But you guys stayed over last week.
Yeah, I pulled up a picture
So yes, I figured out how, I know everything he was showing us yesterday, because we saw him again yesterday.
yeah, at 464.
Everything, well, you had to wait 2 hours to see him.
Oh, yeah? You didn't have an appointment, you just dropped in?
No, and I asked him, so, this is kind of a long way to make like an appointment. And they go, no, first come, first served, we open at 8. But people started coming in at 4 o'clock, and we'd already been sitting there for 2 hours. They closed at 4:30, and there must have been another 3 or 4 people behind us. And they opened us at 4 now. So I don't know whether they shut the doors and say, come back tomorrow, or do they just shut the doors behind us and they continue to see the rest of the people and as long as it takes. We didn't stay. We hurried over to the assessor's office and figured out before 5 o'clock, to see the assessor. She didn't have very good answers for us.
Yeah, plus she just seemed weird how like she relished the idea, seemed, of being able to assess people for more taxes. Like she didn't like the whole Proposition 5 or whatever it was.
Oh, good. Some years ago, Prop,
13 was it?
yeah, back in the day.
Yeah, that's what set the idea that you pay taxes on your purchase price. And for people like us, during retirement, with the fixed income, that's, we pay it. So in New York, you pay much more property tax, a lot lower income tax. In California, you pay income tax, but you pay no property tax, but you pay lower income tax. But we've been paying it for 30 years in the system, right? So, the idea that they should increase taxes now when we're retiring, that's what we bought into and paid for. The area.
How many people bought and sold houses So every time you sell a house, then
Good evening, residents of Alta Dina. How's everyone feeling tonight? You guys got good energy? Feeling positive? Motivated to rebuild? All right. Yeah, I know. My dad's the same way. He's just like, it's like right now, too much to think about. And it is, it's truly a traumatic situation for me and my family. I just felt like every time I woke up after the fire is like waking up to go to the funeral the next day. It's like the funeral that never ends. It's like, oh, what are you doing today? Planning for a funeral. In the last 6 months, I don't go much places. I don't go out to restaurants. I just, it's like similar to losing a child, that type of feeling. I know not the same. I can never replace a child, but it's like a feeling of that. I felt my sister never wanted to put on makeup and do things like that for a while. So there's a lot of trauma that we are all going through. It's a serious loss. You lose your memories and so many things, and then immediately you have to jump into the fire and then FEMA and did you do your SBA and did you get your grants and trying to find a place to live. And then we moved 7 times by the time I found something stable. And these moves weren't like hotel moves, like you needed stuff. You needed pots and pans and a knife. So every time I moved, I felt like I was moving a whole home. So I didn't mean to start with depression. I wanted to start with happiness, but I wanted to let you know that I feel for you and I understand what you're going through. So my name is Freddy Sayegh. I'm essentially a resident advocate. My job is to help you and protect you and empower you, because I felt like it's us against them. And it shouldn't be, and nor will it be if you have the right architects and the right builders. They should be your team. They should be your positive motivation. They should be the reason that you're excited. And so my goal is to ensure that you're placed with the right team, with the right excitement, with the right happiness, and turn this from a negative to a motivation, to get inspired in architecture and inspired in new designs and new materials and new concepts. It's difficult, but the only way we can build back our town back is gonna be you guys being creative and imaginative and fight for your community. Because we have an entire amazing history in Altadena. On my street, I loved walking, and every homeowner manicured every plant, and I admire every tree and the way they took care of things. It's a very beautiful sight to see. And I want to ensure that you guys are motivated to get that back.
We are Altadena, not the people that work for the county. You know what
True.
I'm saying? So we got to send the message to the county what we all want.
True.
Right? Yeah.
True. And what I have learned, and I've learned this working on different projects in different cities that needed rebuilding but not for a disaster, was the power of our voices.
Yeah.
Truly the power of our voices.
Two voices is more powerful than one, four more powerful than two, eight more powerful than four. So,
Money to politicians only matter because they could buy your vote.
right.
Right?
Right.
But if we are the vote, then money is not as powerful as our vote. And that's why I say, like, in this disaster, it takes pitchforks and cursing. Like, we have to let them know we are here for the fight. We have to let contractors and architects and planners and supervisors know we're here for the fight. I tell them all, every time I go on the news, I said, if you forget about us, we'll be protesting your Olympics. We're gonna block everything. And the Olympics is only gonna talk about these residents who blocked the street because you screwed us.
Yeah.
When we fought, we kept fighting hard, and we got fees and permits waived. Because we told her, that we're not stepping down. So the goal is every time there's an issue, we all gotta get together and fight. If people just in this room just showed up one day at our office, I guarantee you, we could get it done. Just as people in this room.
Yeah.
You know, when you're saving, for some people who got 500,000, that's their whole build, you had 50,000 in permits, you're talking 10% of their build we saved. So for me, my next fight is this like for like, that 10%, you know? This like for like, it bothers me. You know, why are you forcing me to build something that I maybe didn't like as much before? You know what I mean? I suffered the pain, I'm going through the hell, and now you're telling me I can't build something more inspirational? And if I build 10% more, you're gonna re-tax me? I think the next fight is that 10% on that tax. They should just give it to us for the pain and suffering they put us through, for putting us through this. So this is what my job is, to unify you, be your voice, help you get in the game, okay?
So what you're saying that we're gonna pay a separate higher tax on the extra 10%?
You're gonna get reassessed on that 10%?
Yeah.
You're not gonna get reassessed on the whole property, but that 10% will. But who wants anybody in our reassessment business at all? I mean, some of us never moved because I'm like, I don't wanna change my property taxes.
Yep.
So some of us fought so hard, like, yeah, there's so many times I wanted to do something, but I'm like, yeah, you know what? Never gonna get property tax like this. So that 10%, Jeff Prane, the county assessor's been fighting for us. The state legislature, who's not hearing us and seeing us, are like, we're not gonna do it. But we do have an assessor who's willing to fight for us.
Okay, good.
But if we're quiet and we just sit in a room and everybody goes back to their jobs and does all these things and nobody puts out the pitchfork, I literally, the people in this room, pitchfork, send a letter, that 10%, they don't, you know, not fair. It's just not fair. You know, what value, we should get something on the positive side of something. You know, it shouldn't just be like, you suffered through the hell, you got back what you got. No, I need something more. You put me through this hell, my kids' schools are gone, I'm driving an hour every way to try to get them to school. For what? To get reassessed?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. That's the fight we want.
So what I
Yes,
hear.
let's go right into the fight. I'm with this.
What I hear is that initially I heard you can have 10% more at the same tax base. But now other folks are saying the opposite.
So what happened was they came out with a like for like plus 10%.
Right.
So 10% of your square footage. If you're less than 2,000, you could get 200. So even though that's more than 10%, you know, if you're less than 2,000, if you're 1,500, you can still get 200, which is technically, we got some side people here who might know the math better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we actually went to the assessor's office yesterday.
Okay.
And what she said was, oh yeah, that 10%, that's fine for permitting.
Correct.
But,
Yeah.
but you start building another 10%,
you're gonna get reassessed
Right.
on that additional 10%. And it's not gonna be at the rate that your current property is
Correct.
assessed at per square foot. It's gonna be at the current bill
Correct.
cost. And she said, here in Altadena, we're anticipating that that price is between $500 and $800 per square foot. So you build a 500 square foot ADU, it's an additional, what, $400,000 that you're gonna be assessed at.
So do you hear where the war needs to begin? I need you to get mad. No, I need you to get mad. Well, first we get together collectively, and we could all just get on an email, another collecting things together. Collectively, we put our heads together, and collectively we yell.
Good.
You know, and I'll help draft a few sample letters. We've got some great, smart people in this room.
Good.
And collectively, but let's not forget about that. Let's not just walk home and then no. I mean, this is a 30-year tax that's going to stick on you because nobody wanted to get on this email chain and start fighting. And I'm here to fight for you. I'm willing to go, pitchfork, light myself on fire, hunger strike. I probably need to lose weight anyways.
So Barger's office and Barger have been somewhat cooperative. And
Yeah, Barger's a good politician. She understands who not to fight with, which is smart. Jeff Prang said, hey, you know what? It doesn't affect me, but it's the state legislature that knocked it out. So we need to come back and say, no, we're not having it. Because we will what? We're going to protest the Olympics. We're going to protest the Super Bowl. He's going to streak. I know it is. I know he's going to do it.
You don't want that.
He's going to streak without the Dina on there. But seriously, that's the game plan. All right? So
I don't want to say it.
I enjoy this fight. So all right, you guys want to do more fighting? Come on, let's fight.
We got to send, he said we got to mix signals, we got to send the signals.
I have a question. I've gone to different seminars and the different tables for the assessors and the county tax collectors. And they had told me on 3 different occasions where I can rebuild more or less the same footprint with the additional 10%, and that it would not increase the Jarvis Act tax that I have.
That's misinformation.
That it would not increase.
That's
Is that
misinformation.
correct?
I met with Jeff Prang himself. He sat eye to eye to me. He told me he's got the fight in there. He said it's up to the state legislature. About a week, 2 later, got an email back from him saying they're giving me a hard time because I asked for 30%. He's like, let me get you 10 first.
Yeah.
You got to ask for 30 to get 10. It's called negotiation.
Yeah, some of us are coming to this at a different pace. We're late to this, so when you say names like Jeff Prang, I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's the county
10%.
assessor.
So can you kind of dumb it down a little bit?
Sure.
And follow along.
Sure, I apologize. So my, you know, I was kind of saying my role is to be your guys' cheerleader and fighter and things of that nature. And some of the areas where I think we should collectively fight, we can't fight everything, but let's pick and choose our battles. And I think a battle is, everyone talks about a like for like in the permitting process that waives your permits and it keeps you on fast track. And it's like for like plus 10%. If you're less than 2,000 square feet, it's up to 200 square feet. Okay. So everybody heard like for like plus 10% and assumed you wouldn't get reassessed. So when you do add that 10%, you're gonna get reassessed to today's market as if you just bought a 10% home.
Right.
Make sense? And so our fight should be, no, we shouldn't be reassessed on that 10%. Yeah, let's go. We should go reassess that 11 and up. So 1%, 2%, you know, however bigger you get. I think that's fair.
So if you build at your footprint plus 11 or 20%, then that would, you're saying.
Well, I'm saying we gotta fight somewhere. So I think most people are adding 10%, most people. Some people are saying, hey, you know, this is my chance to build from 1,500 square feet to 3,000, nothing wrong with that. And I want everyone to build the home of their dreams. Knowing you're gonna get reassessed. That's always been natural at any time you pull a permit and remodel and add, you've always were going to get reassessed. So outside the wildfire, you know, if you add square footage, you're gonna get reassessed on that. And that we've accepted that in the past. But we're not rebuilding because we wanted to, and it's our dream to do an addition.
Exactly.
We're rebuilding because we suffered a disaster, not our fault, with multiple negligence from a utility company that didn't do any maintenance for 10 years, that had a tower up for 53 years that they never took down, that they didn't ground it. I've seen the pictures, not even grounded. And then the area wasn't maintained. It was 10,000 work orders, so we didn't bring this upon ourselves. Give us the 10%. That's my argument. And I think it's a fair argument.
We'll follow up on email. I could have swore it was 120% for tax assessors.
Yeah, see?
Not the subject matter expert, but we'll connect it.
See that?
So you'll get these contacts.
That's why I like to have these government people here to hear us. But she's on our side.
Yes.
All right, well, I don't believe Mr. Holden is here right now, but who I do have is an incredible attorney here. His name is Rico. And he has come in and has allowed us at his firm to host these events. He's been incredible. And I would like to introduce Rico to, allow us in. Fantastic attorney. He hates saying it, but I like saying it. He went to Harvard, these kind of guys.
Is the air conditioning on?
So, thank you for that kind introduction. So my name is Rico Reyes. However, just to be clear, this is Doug Boxer's law firm. So he is the California attorney who has extended his grace to all of us. I am very proud to be part of the team. I'm an attorney from Texas. I know Michael Watts very well. I go back 15, 20 years with this team. So I'm really proud to be welcomed to this community, to help this community. I'm, in fact, pulled up chalks and renting a place here in Pasadena. So I look forward to doing anything I can to help this community. You can always call, come anytime, and we'll walk you through whatever you'd like to talk about. So anyway, enjoy the evening and listen to this man. There's a lot of good information for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rico, and we're honored to have you fighting for us. So I am Freddy Sayegh. We're going to skip some of what I do, but I'll make it quick. We are the Alta Design Works. My job is to be a resident advocate. We are opening up a rebuild center for you right next to the permitting process where you could come and print, meet experts, create coalitions. We partner with Connect LA, which is UCLA, Charles U University, UCI, 210,000 mental health professionals, because I believe not only we got to bring you back in person, we got to bring you back mentally. And many of you may think everything is fine, and we hope so. And some of these mental health programs we're putting together could just be art therapy, it could just be communicating. We're gonna have a seniors day, but a place for you to come back to home, to have something there, because like my dad doesn't come to Altadena much because there's not much for him. But this will be a place where you can meet. We'll have consistent workshops and town halls and info sessions and all that beautiful stuff. Alta Design Work has also negotiated 210,000 products at scale, saving from 5 to 70%, because I believe if we buy collectively, we can negotiate. And so I've been out there negotiating from Anderson Windows. I met the greatest cabinetry people on Friday that are the best selections, the best everything, and I think we're gonna put together an incredible deal. They also have 96 vanities that blew my mind. So he understands the program. They get a tax write-off because we created a nonprofit, so it's not just them getting, giving us a discount. We have structured where they can take things off. So we really structure things in a great way. If you come in, schedule something, we'll go through, we'll help you, we'll analyze your situation, because everybody has different, you might have a mom who's elderly, you want to put her in an ADU. You might have a grandkid coming from school. So we'd like to analyze everything, take a look at your insurance, see if you're missing any money, give you some tips, and then give you an opportunity to meet some of these vetted architects and engineers and things of that nature, and more so, tell you what you should pay and where you should be at. And then if you have a contractor you like, you bring them in. We'll have a team of vetters. We'll vet it. We'll check for lawsuits. We'll check for insurances. We'll check his work for you, so that you, can, have some comfort. And if you need a recommendation, well, where should I get your cabinets? This is the guy to go see. This is who we think you should use. Why, and home hardening things of that nature. So that's my job. My job is to be a resident advocate for you guys.
Hey, Fred. Chris is here.
Oh, great. We do have a special guest. He just walked in. He's the former assemblyman in the state of California, former majority leader, City Councilman and Mayor of Pasadena, be great, Christopher Holden.
Thank you, Freddie. I just wanted to say hello and just to welcome you all to the informational hearing today. I think, as you can see, we're at a place now in this process where everyone is starting to get a little bit more sure footing. And my heart goes out to all of you who've been impacted by this incredible tragedy. But we are going to break free from all of this and move forward. We're going to do the very best we can. And so I appreciate Freddie and the team thinking about what next looks like and thinking about what rebuilding looks like, and being able to say not just that we will, as a slogan, rebuild Altadena, but we're now going to start showing what it looks like to go through a process to getting there. So I just want to say thank you for you all being here, and hope you get a lot of good information out of this presentation.
Thank you, Chris.
It's real wonderful work with Chris. You know, he talks to me about revisioning Altadena and creating a newer downtown district. Like, maybe we can walk and get a cup of coffee. Maybe, how about if we did have a small sushi bar? How about if we do have some nice things? I mean, Altadena is not going to be what it is, but it can be better. You know, there was an area going down Temple City on Rosemead. It was kind of rough. And then they put trees in the middle of the street. And all of a sudden, it was just beautiful to drive down that way. It's the still same city. There are little things that we can envision. And Chris Holden's always telling me, Freddie, think bigger, think brighter. Altadena could be the city of the future. It could be a renewable city. It could be something amazing. And still be our home. You know, there were some rundown things on Lake Avenue. Every time I drove up Lake, I was like, why can't the lake is everything? Why is it always driving? You know, so we can envision things better, but we collectively have to speak about it.
Yep.
We control the power. Guys, you guys got $15-20 billion in insurance money coming. You have a voice. I want you to understand, you have a lot of power. Use it, flex it. Don't let contractors or people tell you how much they're going to charge you. We tell them what we're going to pay them, and they'll agree. They want our business. Agree to our terms, and we'll give you a lot of business. It's a fair deal. But one guy starts setting the price too high that everybody's, oh, well, that's what it is. No, it's not what it is.
Right.
And you might have gotten one of us. You're not going to get all of us. This is my job, is to empower you, get you motivated to rebuild strong. All right, well, we do have an incredible guest. I am very, very honored to have him. The government has attended every panel, and Sierra Burnett is the Assistant Deputy Director for Public Works of Los Angeles County. She has an impeccable resume, 25 years of experience in municipal engineering, building and safety, and infrastructure. She's the co-chair of the LA County Rebuild Program, and she oversees residential permitting, inspection, construction, compliance across the county's unincorporated area. She's not really a microphone lady, but she will today. But thank you. A nice round of applause for Sierra.
Thank you, everybody. Very nice to be here with you all today. I am very personally and professionally invested in rebuilding Altadena. I was involved in permitting. Thank you very much to progress the slides. Also terrible at this. Not on?
That's on.
Just test
Keep
it a
it
little bit,
close.
maybe closer. Hold it a
There you
bit
go.
too. How this works. All right, how's that? A little better? Perfect. So yeah, my best friend lost her house of 27 years and is still making the personal decision, right, on what to do next, 6 months in. So, you know, again, coworkers, all of you, just really, I'm a neighbor. I live in Duarte. You know, we had a fire there a few years ago, and I mean, who would have thought? Like, just who would have thought, right, that it would come this far down? And so yeah, happy to be here today to talk about permitting. So I'll go ahead and progress our slide here, but definitely, as Freddie said, part of the team, right? So as he said, look, we're working with our designers, our contractors, we're working together, right? The goal is to get houses built and people home. So let's make sure that's progressing. Uh-oh, he's bragging about me. I'm going the wrong way. Down it is. All right. It seemed like it'd be an up function. There we go. I broke it. Thank you. That would be really much easier. Thank you. Very good. Perfect. All right, so what we have on the right of the screen here is we do have a step-by-step guide to rebuilding. Like Freddie said, our usual day-to-day business, people either dream of building or have made a decision to build. That's not where we are now, right? Nobody asked for this, and again, we have decisions to make, but what does it even mean to rebuild, right? So we've been housing all of our information on this recovery.lacounty.gov site. So I'll have that on screen later on. But really the goal here is one county, right? So you're not go over here and talk to planning, go over here and talk to building, go see fire. Everything's in LA Recovers. So you'll see that theme on the slides today. But we did develop a step-by-step guide. There's also a road to rebuilding page that goes with it on this recovery.lacounty.gov site that has more details. Even the back side of this form has more details. It would be great if I could pull up on screen, but again, recovery.lacounty.gov, you'll see a blue bar across the top. One of the words is rebuilding. You kind of hover over that, you get some selections, but there is a roadmap to rebuilding. So it's this step-by-step guide in more detail, and then what we did is have this PDF, right, that you can kind of print, and reference that website. But yeah, we know it's a process from that debris removal, which I think has been a surprise on how quickly that went, and I'm hoping it's the same surprise with rebuilding, right? That who would have thought again that we could do it this fast? So I know a lot of people again are different places in their decision-making process, designing plans. And then where we start with the permit process is usually you have your site plan, right, where it shows what structures you're building, the floor plan that shows the rooms and the windows and how you're building, and then your elevations, what it looks like. And that's where you usually start, right, because you submit to planning. And then planning look at what you're proposing to build and where, right? And so that's where people start. And then once they get the clear from planning, then that's when you invest and have the engineers or design professionals draw up how you're going to build it. And so what we've done with LA County, again, for rebuilds, is we've created a new application so that you only have to file one application with the county. So again, instead of filing an application with planning, one with fire, one with building, it's one application to the county. And so again, usually you go through that planning first, right, for what you're building and where. And then once you have your full building plans, they'll activate all the other departments and we'll review it at the same time. And so, so we do have concurrent reviews. Again, it's handled internally, so you're not having to run around and go here, go there. So plans are done internally. So again, just, quick, the front side here kind of goes through, you start your permit application with planning, continue in that permit process, and then you get to constructing and inspecting and moving in. And again, more information online and on the back side of that document.
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Who does this for you? Who does this?
Got it. So that will depend on when you're working with your design professional. Sometimes it's the owner, right? You kind of have that conversation with your design team, right? So sometimes people have a runner or an applicant. The design professional might be part of their contract to do that with you, and sometimes the homeowners do it themselves.
That would be your architect?
Yes.
I see.
Yeah. So talk to them, and again, some of them have runners that just do this. It's all online. You can walk the plans into the permit office and we'll scan them, but eventually they'll end up online. So yeah.
Will these slides be available after?
Yeah, absolutely. What I can do is,
We have
Freddie has
everyone's
them.
email, sign in, and I will send you not only this slide, I'll send you everything that we've done so far, so you can have it.
Perfect. All right, so then what I wanted to talk about is timelines. So our commitment is 10 business days for the initial review, and then 5 business days for any additional reviews. And so that's, again, when you submit to planning, 10 business days, 5 business days. When you have your full building plans,
I'm sorry to
you're
interrupt.
fine. Yeah.
Would there be any additional time if you were not rebuilding, you're rebuilding more than?
So with planning, yes. So once it comes in for the building plans, again, whatever you're building, so that 5 days is there, but you're right, with planning, if you go non-like for like, it's a different process.
Yeah,
with them.
so, last week we had planning here. They said there is a delay, but it's not gonna be that drastic.
Okay.
And I wanna reiterate everyone, like for like is something they made up.
Yeah.
Build what you like, build the home of your dreams, and that's ideal. Maybe some are delays and as things get together, but they've created a artificial intelligence form of plan check and things of that nature. So,
So delay, but not.
it's not gonna be drastic.
Yeah.
These timelines that they're giving you is absolutely not normal for LA County rebuilding process. So they've done something really magical. Hopefully that remains that way.
Yeah, and what I will say, so they'll have a different process for planning, but they do have dedicated fire people, fire staff that are on it. So it's a different process, but again, it's not just in the pool with all of LA County. They do have dedicated teams on fire rebuilding. But definitely the like for like with planning is the 10 days, 5 days. And like I said, no matter whether you're like for like or non-like for like, once you have your plans prepared, you're building what you're building, and that'll be the 10 and 5.
And I don't want to be rude, but if we could hold the question, because she's going to go through a process, she might answer some, but I don't want you to forget it either. So
I appreciate the dialogue. Takes off the back.
She might answer.
Very good. So along with the timelines, what I wanted to show on the screen is we have a dashboard on that same recovery.lacounty.gov site to show you where we are in our permit progress. And so what we have on here is, you'll see at the top, we have for both fires, right, Palisades and Eaton. What I did is select on the tab for just Eaton unincorporated area. So this is just for Altadena. So we do have a number there on the left. That's the total number of parcels for all jurisdictions in Eaton, right? So Pasadena as well. But then we have the number for the damaged or destroyed units in the unincorporated county, right? So in Altadena. So we have received, this is as of yesterday, it is updated several times a day on weekdays, so it's pretty live information, but as of yesterday we had 1,110 properties that came in to file with planning, right? So they have their site plans, floor plans, elevations, they submit to planning, and planning have cleared 730 of those. Okay. And so then what happens again is when people have their full building plans, then they move into the building plan review, and so we have 635 of those. Now we're adding some more tiles to clarify. Planning are pretty much per parcel, right? When you submit for them, again, for us, it's one application, but then once you get to building, we do have separate permits for each structure. So we're gonna add a tile on here so you can see how many parcels have submitted to date, but we do have 635 individual structures that have been submitted. So we'll bring some clarity there, and of those, 103 building permits have been issued. Now that is all permit types. What we did is we added a table below in the pie chart to show you what types of projects we have received. So new residential is all the single family homes, multifamily units, or accessory dwelling units. So really, if you look there, numbers are tiny, but it's about 77 homes have been issued to date and are under construction. Then there's some miscellaneous, some garages. And we are at 57 business days from the time that somebody submits to issues. Our goal is 30 days, right? An aggressive goal, but that's where we'd like to get to. But what that number includes is the design time, right? So as people are preparing those plans, we can see there's a lot between planning and building. So as they're designing the plans, then we do our review, then it goes back to the designer to make revisions. So all of that time is included in there, but we are working with the designers as well, calling them up saying, hey, we gave your corrections a couple of weeks ago. Any questions or comments, anything we can do to help? When do you plan to resubmit? So again, collectively trying to reduce that time to make it even faster. Yeah, Freddie.
Alert everyone. Hearing these numbers make you think you're far behind or start panicking and things of that nature. That doesn't necessarily mean that at all. Some of us need time to review, to get an idea, to figure out who we are and what we want, and kind of settle things through. So there's no need to panic, because that's how I felt listening to her, and I was going to let you guys know that it's not a panic. Take your time, build the home that you're going to live in forever. So don't rush just because someone put in a plan.
Yeah, it's a great point. And so that one on the side that says building plan stages, today it says new residential building plan stages. So for the homes, what we're doing is showing you where those projects are in the process. So how many of them are pending their first review, how many have received comments, right, and are back with the designer, how many have come back in for resubmittal. But there are some plans that are approved pending clearances, right? There's a couple of clearances, like a will serve letter that need to be obtained for rebuilds. And then some plans are actually approved just pending pulling the permit. So again, some people are still securing financing, right? They're still choosing a builder, right? And so really, again, we'll kind of continue to demonstrate where the plans are in the process. And then we have the same for temporary housing, which is allowed, right? You can do standalone ADUs, have the ADU before the home. And so again, tracking all of that there. So I'll keep moving. And then Freddie asked me to talk specifically about some issues in the fire zones. So I did want to share, there's the northern area of Altadena is within a very high fire hazard severity zone. Mm-hmm. And so there's some requirements in the code there to home harden, right? So basically the whole exterior of the building the windows, the siding, the vents, right? Anything you have on the outside, there's code requirements for how, what materials to install. And so it is required for properties that are within the very high fire hazard severity zone. But it is, you know, people can voluntarily choose to do it outside the fire zone, right? So if you're like, hey, I'm not within that, but I'd like to. So we did develop what we call a resilient rebuild resource guide to just provide information about, you know, what these products and materials are. But again, only required if you're within that very high fire hazard severity zone. And again, it is things like the siding, the materials, kind of making sure the embers don't get up under eaves. Something to add there, Freddie?
Yeah, and another pro tip is that a lot of insurance policy have an additional set aside, sometimes around 10 up to 20% for these modernization updates. You're now in a high fire zone, you may go from a Class C roof to a Class A roof. That's gonna cost you, so you won't, the insurance company won't tell you there's more money, but you need to go back there and dig it out, and if you don't find it, then we need to go back to the state and say, hey, you know, I have enough to build my home, you want me to add another 10-15%, we need to find that money from you guys, not from us.
Yeah, we had dinner with a family last night, in southern, way south of here, who had a fire 7 days after ours, came up the side of their mountain, their priest melted, the palm tree under their eaves caught fire, but the way they built their home, it's like, it's a little smoky inside, you know, that can make a huge difference.
Okay, so the next slide here just shows again, so we have this, what we call a resilient rebuild resource guide that's on that same website that just provides some, you know, information on materials, whether it's fencing, the roofs, the windows, the eaves, the vents, how you orient or structure your home. So lots of information online, and again, we can always go into more detail someday, but today for this overview then, we'll go through what you can do, right? So we did open a one-stop in March in Alta Design. So there's an office dedicated for the fire burn area. It's at 464 West Woodbury Road. And again, this recovery.lacounty.gov site is referenced there on the slides. And that's where we have the road to rebuilding guide I mentioned, which is a step-by-step guide for residents to know what that permit process looks like. There's some mapping resources on there. And then a number of more things that I will talk about today. So Freddie mentioned the rollout of this Archistar tool that's going to be basically a pre-screening AI check, right? I don't know about you all, but I use ChatGPT with my limited capacity. I see how much it's changed and grown even in the time I've used it. And so I was really curious, right, where is this at today? And it's pretty impressive, right? We're adding some building code requirements. It can basically look at a plan and look at the size of the room, the size of the glazing on the elevation, and tell you if there's enough light, right? Because this is one of the things that's a code requirement. And so what it does is it allows homeowners or designers to upload their plans, right? So you can register an account, upload your plans, and it does this pre-check. And so it could potentially flag issues. So again, zoning code requirements have been fed in, some life safety requirements. And so the hope then is that people have more complete plans when they submit, so it reduces the back and forth and the number of comments. So it's great if you submit your plans. It gives you a checklist, right, where it'll show green if it passes, red if it fails, and then it lets your designer make those adjustments so they get that plan complete, and then submit, and it should allow for faster reviews. All right. All right, the slides look a little bit sideways to me, and it looks like a little bit there too, but they'll be better when we send them on. But then, understanding again, like I wouldn't want to design a home, right? I'm a condo dweller. I say check how many bedrooms, how many baths I want, what amenities are the most important to me. Designing a home, right, to me, I would find it very stressful, right? Do I want a bigger closet? I don't know, like I just, I've always had what I had. And so what we wanted to do is provide some different options. So that's actually pre-approved plans I'll get to next. But one of the options, the pilots we rolled out for fire rebuilds, is self-certification. So a California licensed architect or engineer can register with us at the county, and then they can basically self-attest that their plans meet code, and then they don't have to go through the building plan check portion of the permit process. And so what we will do is audit, right, at a certain number of those plans, make sure, right, that the plans are still going out. We'll screen them all, But again, it allows that architect or engineer to say, I'm a professional, right? I've designed these plans to meet codes, and we'll still obviously perform all the inspections. So it'll still go through inspection reviews out in the fields. This is eligible for single-family homes, accessory dwelling units, any detached garages, appurtenant structures. So that was one pilot program that we rolled out. And again, on that rebuilding page, you'll find it under self-certification, has some step-by-step guides. And we have about 47 architects and engineers that have registered with us. And we did have one plan submitted there last week. And so that one's now cleared to get their clearances and get their permits. All right, another one is pre-approved plans. So this is the option where designers submit their plans. They basically get them pre-approved. What that essentially means is they've been substantially reviewed for zoning and building. So what they don't have is the site plan, right? But they have the floor plan, how it's gonna be built, right? That all gets approved. And then if you select that plan, it can speed up again the review, because now we're just looking at the site adaptation, right? The site plan, maybe the energy calculations were deferred. And so again, it lets you kind of go into a library of plans. If it kind of fits the square footage you want, maybe you go with that design option, and it would cut that design phase out of your permit process. And again, it'll let the plan review go a little bit quicker. So again, if there's questions at the end, we can come back to any of these. The fee waivers was a big one on June 17th, obviously as a board motion. So as Freddie mentioned, for eligible homeowners, so if you're rebuilding a single family home that you owned and lived in prior to the fires, then you don't pay plan review or permit fees. So that would be the planning review fees, the building review fees, fire, if you're on a septic, public health. So you would not pay those fees. And so the way it works is there's a form online. This is a QR code to the form, or again, it's on a recovery site. You email that into recovery@planning.lacounty.gov. That's up on the screen there. And once we receive that form again, then you would not be, now you will see invoices, right? We will still invoice, because it's called a fee deferral, if you look at the motion, because we're looking for an alternate funding source to obviously pay salaries, but the homeowners will not be charged those fees. So not now or not later. So that if there's kind of confusion, is it a deferment or a waiver? So it's a waiver for the homeowners, it's a deferment for us to try and get the money from somewhere else. So we'll invoice the fees and have a note saying, look, if you're eligible and you filled out that form, then you won't pay those fees. Eligible projects again are replacement single family homes, accessory dwelling units, any kind of appurtenant structures that you design with that home. All right, another new update as of just last week, July 7th, was that still last week? Maybe 2 weeks ago. So the governor put out an executive order where property owners are no longer required to install solars, right? So, you know, we talk about like for like, you don't have to meet the current zoning requirements. Projects do still have to meet current building, fire code requirements. So a requirement in the state is to install solars. But the governor last week exempted fire rebuilds from installing the solars, and also battery storage systems. So you still have to make your house solar ready. So you kind of put in the conduit and everything, have it ready, so that if at a later date you go to put in those solars, it's gonna be much easier and cheaper. Freddie, something to add there?
Yeah, so strategically, you don't wanna just write that off because it was waived. This is probably the time to do it. We're in the process of negotiating solar at scale. So, you know, if you look at it moving forward, you're gonna save money. That's a cost that's recoupable in your Edison case, so don't want you to think that, you know, we don't have to do it now. Edison will have to recover that for you. So it's something to think about. This is probably the time to do it if you're gonna do it.
3 points, it's an option. You're absolutely right. And then another thing that was in that executive order is we do code updates on a 3-year cycle. So our next new code would be on January 1st, 2026. So fire rebuilds are exempt from having to meet the new building code. You would need to meet the new fire code after the first, and there's some requirements. There's an exemption about like flood elevation or something like that. But basically any new code updates that are coming in January 1st, you can still build to the 2022 building codes. All right. And then Freddie asked me to just talk about some inspection tips. So I do think these are great progress pictures here on the screen. But what I would say is, you know, we are next day on inspections now, right? We will continue to surge staff, right? And you know, have more people as needed. But one of the recommendations I would make is just planning ahead, right? Maybe putting in that inspection request a few days ahead. And then I would say talk to your inspector, right? As soon as they come out. So your first inspection is gonna be once you dig the holes for the footings before you pour concrete. And I would say talk to the inspector at that time, right? When do you wanna come out again, right? And just form that relationship. Yeah, I would just recommend, again, just plan ahead, put in maybe a week before, kind of be working with your contractor, and tell them the same thing. Hey, plan ahead, get those inspection requests in. And again, yeah, looking to surge staff and get that portion of it moving quickly as well. So that's what I had, which I think leaves time for questions now or later on, whatever you prefer. Freddie?
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
What about this in-house sprinkler system I heard about?
Yeah, so that's a state requirement for interior fire sprinklers.
What's the question?
Interior fire sprinklers.
Yeah, so those are still required. So homes are required to have interior fire sprinklers.
What's the point of that? What was the real point?
So that'll be a question for fire. We can get fire here another time.
I'm in your boat. Like, there's not, that sprinkler wasn't gonna start. What took us down?
It would be the individual structure. I mean, again, from my understanding, right, if you have.
Yeah, for a single family home that starts by a kid leaving on a stove or something, which is more common. I mean, this hadn't happened to us in, 120 years, so ideally, that's the plan. But I never understood that. I'm in your camp.
It's to prevent a house that ignites internally from spreading to adjacent houses. So, yeah, it has nothing to do with what happened now.
When there's a 100-mile-an-hour wind.
Right, thank you, yeah.
Most common fires
More
start from
damage
the
will be
inside.
caused by accidentally setting off in-house sprinklers than would be protected by them.
I thought it was going to be outside.
So we're gonna keep her on. We're gonna do a lot of Q&A, but I wanna make sure that I've got to everybody.
Perfect, I'll stay close.
Here,
Yeah.
Cynthia Martin, I don't know if you remember.
Yes, and you said my name perfectly, Cynthia. Nobody does that. It looks like
I
Sierra.
remember you so well.
I remember you too. Hello. Sorry to see you here. Huh.
Remember our house?
I do, and your
burned
accessory dwelling unit, right?
Yeah, it burned down.
I'm so sorry to hear that, Cynthia.
So, I heard there was an exterior sprinkler requirement too.
Not that I'm aware
Is
of.
there?
Mm-mm.
That would be.
Not that I'm aware of.
And, yeah, Mike's not good.
It's on.
Seems to be on, but, I know we walked in right when you were talking about the permitting, waiving. And when I looked at the form, basically I came to a point where I thought I was going to fill it out. But we haven't submitted our new construction plans yet, and it is asking for permit number, so I don't have those yet.
You can fill it out anytime. We have received some that we don't have an application for yet, so really it is signatures.
Even without the.
Yeah, so you could, you can fill it out with your application. You could fill it out now, anytime. You could get that emailed in anytime.
Congratulations on all your promotions, you clearly deserve it.
Thanks, Cynthia. It's nice to see you again.
I'm in her camp. We are so lucky to have you.
Yeah.
Honored to have the opportunity to help.
We have between my neighbor and our property, we had electricity poles. Now we have only utility poles. Does that mean they're gonna go underground with the wiring, the cabling?
There is plans to underground 153 miles of electrical, and of course everything else with it. So if you want to email me, I have some business cards and we'll make sure you have contacts. If you want to email me, I can get you in touch with Edison.
Edison got forced to do so because they burned down the town. These are things that they could have done before. And now that they have to write a check and they don't have that extra, mansion in the Hamptons, they can start putting things underground.
Well, the reason I ask is that if we start doing construction on a home,
Great
they
point.
have to go through the cables underground, that's gonna affect my building.
So a great point. So what he's bringing up is that, because there's some houses are standing, right? Some houses you might build and that undergrounding might take some time. So there are panels, and from what I understand, they cost the same, that run overhead and they're adaptable, right? Where they run over and under. Because that is something to consider, right? Is like if I build now and it's overground and it undergrounds, right? Am I gonna have to get a new panel? So from what I understand, the panels cost the same and they're adaptable where you can do over under. But again, if you want me to try and find out from Edison, that address, right? How that relates to what they're planning, be happy to.
what the service drop's gonna do. Because we have poles in our backyards, but if they underground it, it's gonna be in the street in the front yard. And so the service drop is gonna be either from the front of the house or the back of the house, depending upon how that's set up. And that's a really big deal in terms of design of a new house.
Yeah, and we are recommending that you meet with the planner, like while it's in plan review stage. We do have planners in that Alta Design one stop at 464 West Woodbury, and what we did add recently, by the way, is an assessor's representative on Thursdays. Yeah, so, but yeah, Southern California Edison are in that office as well, and you can certainly schedule an appointment with the planner. But it would be great, yeah, to talk to them, and they want to talk to everybody about their individual properties, and yeah, I see a couple hands.
So, associated with the underground electrical, what is the cost to the homeowner?
To run the new lateral, right?
That's the question, and so, if for instance, it's coming to the front of my house, I happen to be one of the really lucky families who's in a special setback district, and I have a question about that as well, where I've got 50 feet that I'm gonna have to go from the front of my house, assuming that that's where it's gonna connect, to at least my property line, right?
Plus another 30 feet to the center of the road.
Well, there you go. So.
Well, that's completely on Edison, I guess.
So what's my cost gonna be for that?
Yeah.
I heard numbers of $30,000 to $50,000 for the trenching and running a underground lateral.
And is that covered by insurance?
Great question.
That should be an argument in your letter to your insurance company saying that these are some of these issues. I know it will be covered eventually in the lawsuit against Edison, but these are where you should have questions back over to them, because that is considered a newer upgrade to get in.
Well, the other aspect of it is that Edison used to bring overhead service drops in to the weatherhead on your house, at their expense.
Right.
I did underground in our house before it burned, and I had to do the conduit and everything, and then Edison pulled the wires through it. But the point I'm gonna make is that it used to be that Edison would get power to your house at their cost. And so I can certainly see making the argument that if they're gonna decide to underground, then they should be paying to get the power to your house.
I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement with this guy.
So that may be one of the things we need to yell
The
about.
good news, we do have an insurance champion coming up, so which he can answer a lot of
Sure,
these
stop hogging,
questions.
but you had your
So
hand up, yeah.
in reference to that, going underground, the digging, the going in from the street all the way into your house, they're gonna do the digging, they're gonna do the conduit, they're gonna do the routing in order to connect into the house?
Not that I understand, not in the private property.
Not that we understand, but that's what we need to fight for. Right, exactly.
That's insane.
Having some conversations about possibly covering this cost, but it's not that verbal yet.
Yeah.
So the more verbal we are.
We need to encourage
Correct.
that conversation.
Because it's gonna hit us all out of nowhere. You know, we set aside this much money for the house, we budget it to the T, then all of a sudden, there's a $50,000 expense.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do, not have a kitchen now?
I think we should write letters to Karen Barker's office. She's been making some, she's been helping out, but she's been very,
She's been doing well.
very.
All right, we'll pause there for the next speaker and then do another round of questions after that. Thank you, appreciate it.
Guys, give it up for Miss Barnett. We are lucky. They want us to rebuild. Usually the county does everything they can to put you into a time machine. But now they want us to rebuild because we're not paying property tax.
Exactly.
We know what you guys are up to.
You know, the one thing I didn't say is, like, if business as usual won't get it done. I mean, that's my motivation, and that's my daily, is business as usual won't get it done, and that's where these different pilot programs, these different, but yeah, I'd love to hear from you too. I know you mentioned earlier, like, here to hear from you as well, so appreciate the dialogue back and forth. Yeah?
With the Army Corps that went in and did all that debris cleaning, if you have insurance, they're gonna go, Public Works is gonna bill our insurance.
Let me try using the mic for this one. Did you guys all hear the question? No. So this is about the Army, oh, let's see if that's still on, oh, you turned it off, was it? So the question is about, so the Army Corps came in for the properties who opted in, and so the question is, will property owners or their insurance be billed later, right? Did I get the question right? So what happens is, some insurance, insurance is so varied, right? Some of them actually have a line item for fire debris removal. And so by the end of the year, we expect to have the costs from Army Corps and what that costs. So if your insurance had a specific line item for that, right, then it would be a negotiation between Public Works and your insurance company. Now, some people just have a line item for rebuilding, right? And if that's the case, all the rebuilding has to happen first, right, to see what money gets spent, to see if there's any money left over. So it'll kind of vary depending on the insurance companies and negotiations with the different ones, yeah.
Because I mentioned to my agent, I go, please don't pay anything out yet, because there's so much damage done with the people that came in, the contractor. They messed up the concrete, driveways, instead of cutting the line, the water line, first and capping it, all they do is went in and just janked the whole pipes and everything. There was a lot of damage to the meters and all that. So, my question is, when they build, when is it gonna happen? After we complete, the house is completed, or before?
So again, it would depend on the insurance from what I understand. If it has a specific line item for fire debris removal, it could be sooner. But from what I understand, and you all know better than me, if it's, if there's not a specific line item, then it wouldn't happen until all the construction is done to see if there's anything left on. Exactly.
Also, another thing to be careful about with the debris removal is some insurance companies are not paying the Army Corps directly. Most are. Some are actually issuing you your debris removal money, which you could be billed for later. So make sure, that's one of the things that I go over with everybody, and I'll talk with them a little more about it, is knowing what you are getting paid for when you receive a check, right? So you can put that debris removal to the side, and if you are billed, they're gonna bill you for the amount of money that you got from the insurance company, okay? And then that you'll have.
We're gonna do insurance questions, but if it's, is it for?
There are a lot of structures do we need to there are a lot of structures which do need to be moved, like destroyed concrete, some dirt in grass areas for steel, you have to remove that out. What if that doesn't happen until U.S. Army could build?
So nothing would happen this year, so I think the recommendation would be to get that cleared.
I'll give you guys a quick debris removal. So the contract through FEMA to Army Corps of Engineers. They come in residential so far, and there's been few commercials. They come in, they conduct the debris removal within the burn zone. Some of that leaves fencing, some will leave your pool, some will leave your driveway, things of that nature. Now they're just gonna set aside, back over here. That's Army Corps. If you don't have insurance, they owe you nothing. If you only have small amounts, but it was a lot more, you owe them nothing. If there's money left, then they're still gonna sit here. What you're going to do is you're gonna hire someone to conduct the rest of it, okay? You're gonna have debris dollars in your insurance policy. You're gonna use that. Now let's say you only use half of that. Then Army Corps, when everybody's done, is gonna come in and do what's called a subrogation. They're gonna go in and say, hey, insurance guy, you owe me some money. Do understand that money didn't belong to you, it belonged to debris removal. It's not part of your bill. Some, like California Unfair Plan, has just shoved everything into $1. So essentially they don't have a debris removal. So they're pretty much exempt. So in the end, you really shouldn't, you won't owe anything. But Harold might get into that in a little bit.
The moral of the story is spend all of your debris removal money on
Correct.
your own project. And then the Corps doesn't get anything.
Correct.
That's my point, yeah.
There you go, okay,
That's good advice, actually.
So we have the fair plan, and we did have some debris removal money, and we had to take out some trees, it was all dead, burned crap. And so we hired a company and they did it, and we submitted to Fair Plan, and they wrote back right away and said, they don't cover tree removal. So you have to say in the invoice debris removal, even though it's trees. So that's a tip for you, because otherwise they said, oh yeah, we'll cover the $5,000.
And the fact is that even trees, if they're burnt, you can't take them to the normal dumpsters, you have to take them to the special burned.
And that's only Fair Brand who says that. Everyone else considers that debris. But she's right, still call it debris just in case.
That's not just fair play.
Your insurance too?
Yeah, if you have something in your invoice that says tree removal, doesn't matter.
Even if it's partially burned? Okay. Unless you have that particular endorsement, you call it debris. So you talk to your secondary debris people, and the only debris is what they're debris. All right, we are going to move to the next expert. So once again, Alta Design Works likes to vet contractors for you and go through a whole process. This is one of the contractors that we absolutely adore. He's one of these fancy Beverly Hills builder guys who's got an incredible experience in building amazing things, but he's agreed to our pricing. So if this is someone that you want to meet, come talk to us. We'll put you guys together. We'll beat him up for you. But he's one of the best builders we've met, and it's an honor. I'm so glad he's in Altadena to help us rebuild. But a nice round of applause for Myron Malone. He is shy, so be gentle.
I'm very shy with microphones, and so I'm Miro Malem. I'm the owner of LA Home Construction, and since the fires, my company, we receive a lot of calls from homeowners that lost their homes, also in the Palisades. I'm working now on first one that we're starting. It takes some time on a new project in Altadena. Sure. So, if you want to ask me, yeah, okay.
You could just hold it to stand up.
Yeah, okay.
See, we don't train our contractors to speak. We train them to build.
We know to build. We don't know how to talk and presentation and stuff like that. But if you have any questions for me, I'll be more than happy to answer.
We do. We got a lot of good questions.
Any chance you could stand so we can see you better?
Yeah.
Sorry to ask you that.
In your firm, do you work with architects within your firm? Can they bring their own architect? How do you guys work there?
So the way I work is I give the clients always the option. Obviously, if you look at my website, you see that everything is in-house. I do have my architect, my engineer. Obviously, they're freelancer, but we're working together. The homeowners always have the option to bring their own. What I usually offer to my clients is that as a package deal. So let's say we're meeting with the architect. Let's say we pay the homeowner paid the fee, whatever the architect charged, and I use this money towards the construction. So the homeowner don't lose their money. So let's say you pay $20,000, $15,000 to the architect. If working with me together, then that money that you spend go towards the construction. So let's say the construction costs $200,000, $400,000. I deduct what you paid for the architect.
Yeah, so what we do, at least in how we kind of structured it, is we kind of analyze how much money people have and design to that. The biggest, the best, the most amazing we can. Build in structural engineers, architects, and get that all within so you have a set budget. There's a lot of people who can't afford a $50,000 surprise change order. So give us outside of costs, is there a benefit to use what's called a design build firm versus having an architect and coming to you?
Of course, and I have a very good example right now. I'm working with a client in Altadena, and she has a certain budget and of course some money that she got from the insurance. So when you work with an architect together, I can tell her what it's going to be. Is it going to be 100,000, 600,000, or 1 million? I had an example a while ago that a client came to me and said, okay, those are the plans that I did with my architect, build me a home. I was writing the estimate, almost $700,000. He was in shock because he was not prepared for that. But when you do it with the homeowners with the builder and designer, we can work together, and then I tell my architect, listen, you have to change the square footage of, instead of 3 bedrooms, do 2 bedrooms, and then we can work together with the homeowners on their with the budget.
So some people interview architects or they fall in love with certain architects, which you should. I recommend you fall in love with the people you work with. They should truly be your team. You should feel protected and defended, and they're answering your calls and they're doing those things. A lot of the contractors move to design build teams because they've gotten used to that architect. They have an understanding of how they work. They could get on the phone, get the change, call them and say, hey, this thing here is gonna cost way too much. Or you say, you know what, like Middle Easterners, we live in our kitchen. You know, so it's like the most important thing for us. So, you know, some of us say, I'd rather get a better kitchen and then try to change things elsewhere. And so the design build firms become more seamless in that project.
And another thing that I like to tell my clients is that for me, for contractors, the plans is like when you play a piano, you need the chords to play. So a lot of people don't know what they're reading. They don't know what those plans that you go to the city plan and then you get like 40, 50 pages, and I know how to read it. I can tell them, okay, this is what's going to happen, and that's also what we can adjust. Okay, so.
I wonder, so how do you feel, she mentioned about the library of pre-planned or
Pre-approved plans.
How do you feel about working with those, or have you ever worked with those?
If I have plans that you mean pre-approved?
Yeah, the
Okay.
ones that, the foothill catalog. Yeah, the foothill catalog.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what they do is the designers submit, get the plan pre-approved, let's say a 1,200 square foot house, 3 beds, 2 baths. The one that we have approved so far has multiple facades, right, different kinds of looks. So then the thought is a builder can pick those up and build it, you know, if people could use that plan.
Yes, yes. So as I mentioned before, I also work with other clients or other architects. And you mentioned before the runner. I also have the runners that they go to the city. You probably see them over there, and because I don't have the time to go there, and so they will go and we'll see with the check planner, and we'll see if we have to adjust the plans, and back and forth until we get the plans approved. And again, it can be from.
I think he probably didn't answer the question, but I'll kind of give you an idea of what most contractors will tell you is. Naturally, we never needed a bunch of pre-approved plans and things of that nature. This is Los Angeles. People build the homes, they envision it, and they dream it, and they sleep it, and they think about it, and they create their own vision, their own idea. So that's how we have built in Southern California. In other states where there's a lot more land, it's cheaper to build and things of that nature, there's a lot more use of pre-approved plans. So there's not going to be a lot of contractors who are used to pre-approved plans. However, they're just a plan. As if you had an architect who had a plan, they're just a plan. And we looked at the Foothill Catalog's plans, and those are very simplistic plans. So these are things that a guy who builds in Beverly Hills and those areas can masterfully build those things. So he probably is not used to seeing that, but contractors are probably gonna start seeing something like that.
Cover the mic when you're done. Sure. So just really quickly, one thing I didn't talk about is whether you need a California licensed architect or engineer for a job, right? So if it's a one-story home, there's all these prescriptive rules, right? That if you follow these prescriptive rules, you can use a design professional and they don't have to be licensed, right? But one of the things I imagine having a builder on board is you might have these ideas for a lot of openings, right? And he might go, hey, you build those openings, it's gonna require a beam that's gonna cost you, right? And so that's where I think sometimes, you know, architects can design anything, right? Infinite amount of ways, but I think builders sometimes will bring that, this will cost you.
It's true. and there was another example the past week. I met with someone, not in Alta Design, because I work everywhere, and she wanted to do something, and I told her, hey, stop. That's where you need to bring the architect, get the permits, because we don't do jobs without permits, and absolutely without like opening walls and changing the entire house. And unfortunately, some homeowners don't know about it, and some they think that it's just a fee that they pay. No, it's not a fee. It's to be covered. If God forbid something happens next year or in a few weeks, so everything needs to be legit and of course examined by the architect. I have in my firm also interior designers. So that also helps. So some people, okay, I'm building the home, but how it's gonna look like? What color will be the wall? What sofa I should bring? But that's more better.
And it seems as I was given a mic again, which is a very bad idea. One thing I forgot to mention is on there you'll see these workshops too, because you all definitely seem interested and engaged. So what we're doing is we're running these virtual workshops. We actually started back in February 13th and 14th, and we called in a bunch of contractors, architects, engineers, and said, hey, where are your pain points, right? When you're working with the county, where are the holdups? What are your hangups? So we had a great, and actually we opened it up, it filled up in an hour, so we had 2 more sessions. So we have a post-event recap of that meeting, but then we've been hosting virtual. So we have one on like for like and why it matters in unincorporated LA County, how to engage with a design professional. We have one on manufactured homes and factory-built housing, right? So people want to consider that as an option, right? What would that look like? How do I go about that? We had one on the Resilient Rebuild Resource Guide. And so those are recorded. And so the slide decks and the recordings are all online. So just one more.
But these virtual, you don't get pizza, you don't get me, you don't get to see each other. I mean, we're done with COVID and virtual. I'm gonna take a question back here.
Just to your point about the Foothill catalog, I think it is worth exploring. The one thing, we went to their open house and there's a lot of really great designs in the Foothill catalog. I think they're not all of them pre-approved yet. The one thing is, you should look at it quickly, because if you don't have a flat lot, if your lot is sloped, you probably won't be able to use them. You probably won't be able to modify them. We asked that question, like, how much can you modify? If they're pre-approved, that's what you're gonna build.
When we went to the disaster center back when we started, they told us we had the 10% like for like. But they also told us the interior, we have 20% on materials. If you go from carpet to hardwood floors, you go from tile to big windows, does that still apply to and that affects your property tax?
I don't believe that's accurate. Essentially, that like for like is primarily on the square footage. You can redesign and do whatever you want. Change your carpets, you can change the heights of your ceilings.
You can only do the interior 20%.
The public assessor is worried about square footage. Yeah, that's what they concerned about. So you can put more bathrooms. It's all about the square footage. So that like for like issue is a tax, really a tax matter.
If I could add one thing on bathrooms,
She
so
can.
if you're on public sewer, the like for like plus 10% or 200 allows you to change the floor plan, right? So you could go from 2-bed, 1-bath to 3-bedroom, 2-bath. But if you are on private sewage, you'd want to check in with public health. So if you're adding any bedrooms, bathrooms, or what they call bedroom equivalents, but it's about 370 properties out of the 6,500 that are on private sewage, and you probably know if you are. But the rest can modify the floor plan, and the 10% is also on the height, right?
But I think you can go more higher.
You can go 10% higher as well. Yeah.
10% higher? Only 10% higher, or if I go higher than 10%, it's not gonna be like for like?
Correct, yeah.
Square feet, is it measured from the inside of the house or from the outside of the wall?
You know what a fabulous question that is, because for planning it's one and for building it's the other.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. For rebuilding, don't worry about it.
Right. But it's 4 inches that could add, take away
I would say
from
whatever
the 10%.
planning do.
Do what planning?
Yeah. Yeah, because they're gonna say what you can build and where, and when we're looking at it, it won't make a difference. We'll go with that.
I had a, 2x4s, now 4x6, it makes
It's true.
difference in the size.
It's true.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
And ADA, if you want SBA loan, you gotta follow ADA rules.
For single family homes?
So if you want SBA, it might affect your SBA loan if you don't do ADA, handicap.
I haven't heard that.
SBA doesn't have it in their home.
They're not gonna change it.
But they will check it.
Yeah.
to just make sure you have ADA, the doors for, wheelchair.
It's the first I'm hearing of that.
That's what I,
The ADA primarily applies to commercial where you have invited guests into a commercial establishment. So I can have a commercial establishment totally private, just me and my family that does not open to the public is where the ADA really is in effect. So I haven't heard anything where a resident has to have an ADA bathroom.
Does it apply to an ADU that you're gonna rent out?
That's a good question.
No, it would not, yeah, the accessibility is multifamily, and commercial, like you said, so single family ADUs would have no, but there is some aging in place requirements in the code now, so I wonder if it's related to that maybe. There's some grab bar requirements now that are kind of newer. Interesting.
She had a question.
Oh, well, first of all, this is why I like coming here to clarify all the questions that you get all this little gossip stuff. But I have a 3-point question. I think the gentleman earlier answered it. So for the pre-approved, if I pick something and I didn't have my architect work on it, does it fit my lot size? And let's say it was flat, but does it fit it's kind of hard to fit the lot size. Can my architect change it? And if he does change it, is it considered pre-approved?
So there's a number of different architects submitting pre-approved plans, but then they would be their plans, right? So if you got an architect, they would develop their own plans, right? They wouldn't work off those pre-approved plans because the ownership of those plans is still that design professional that submitted it. But to make it fit.
So if you touch anything on a pre-approved plan, it's no longer pre-approved. You're out of that pre-approved game.
There's a couple of sizes, but there is a standard plan that the county owns, right? So if you go on planning's website, it's like an 800 and 1200 maybe. So those standard plans, anybody can use them, and you could, but really the companies that are submitting the pre-approved plans, they own the plans, so you reach out to them.
What's the benefit of going towards pre-approved opposed to having your own architect design what you want?
I think it's really, it's time, and then it's choices. I would find it very stressful, I was saying earlier, to choose how big a window, I feel like I would regret every decision. Because I'm not an interior designer, right? And I just find, I don't even like decorating my house, I let my husband decide where the couch goes. Where some people love that, right? So really, it's just providing options, right? And just providing options so you can choose what's best for you.
And just being selfish to a resident who's gonna live and die in Altadena is, I have no issues with pre-approved plans, but I would hate to see an entire town that looks all identical with the same pre-approved plans. So, there is some time issues, but you're still gonna have to buy these plans from the architect.
So I have a question related to that. On my street, 4 people have sold to one developer, sold their property to one developer. So I'm thinking, are they incorporated in the people who are going to be building at full permits? And are they just cookie cutter houses? And can they go up?
That's an unknown question that might be for these experts. I can only speculate. I'll give you my speculation. I could be completely wrong. There's different type of developers who've come in. I've calculated 4. Some have acquired more, some have acquired less. One, and this is nothing racial at all, just identifying what type of entity. One entity is a Chinese company. I don't know if they're buying to build or if they're buying to land bank it and just leave it like a Bitcoin, which fears me. There was a gentleman in Altadena who hit, I think, $1 billion lottery, who has purchased a bunch of land. For me, I kind of feel more comfortable with him. He was born and raised here, he lived here. I have a good, okay, so we got a guy who could vouch for him. I have a better feeling for him than the Chinese company.
No, he's a really great guy.
Yeah.
Family's fantastic.
Fantastic, so.
I'm very happy he's doing this.
In my last sphere.
What he wants to do, Freddie, is he wants to keep it so that way because there's been, before the fires, there was a lot of people that wanted to live in Altadena. Yes. Okay, so the beauty about it is, he wants to buy the land, and he wants to sell it to the people that want to live here.
Beautiful.
He's not gonna build these big places and all that stuff. He wants to sell it literally, because I've talked to him. My son knows him personally, and he said the same thing. I want to keep Altadena like it was. Beautiful.
Beautiful, and that's why when I found he bought a lot, I felt good about it. He lives here.
Yes.
He continues to live here.
Yes.
My initial concern was developers coming in, owning the property, and coming back to the homeowner and putting them on a lease.
Nope.
No, I'm not saying he is, but there may be some others that some of us are.
Owns like 50, has bought 50 lots supposedly, one on my street. They're Ocean LLC or something like that.
No, it's Black Lion.
Black Lion, okay.
No, ours is Ocean.
So Ocean might, I'll do some more research.
Yeah, it's called Ocean Development. You can look
We
on
don't
it.
know, they're privately held companies. We don't know what they plan on doing.
Development LLC, so
Yeah.
that's who's buying it.
Yeah.
I don't know, I didn't do any more research on
So, but I don't like their houses.
No, there's been a lot of, and they all reach out to me for some reason as if I'm the gatekeeper, but I've sent a lot back home. I said, you're not gonna do business here, because they put out horrific looking things. Like, we wanna live in a FEMA camp, and all for them to just make a quick buck and run. Like, someone who's invested in Altadena, who's lived here, who won the lottery here, I would rather trust him to hold the land than some guys who just wanna throw whatever they can, flip it, and skip town and not care what the character of the street was. I live on a street, Spanish home, mid-century home. That's what I was used to.
Yeah, true, character. We want the character.
We want it back.
We don't want the cookie cutters.
No.
That's someone else who had their hand.
I just wanted to make a comment about the Foothill catalog. I've seen their designs, and they have a multitude of designs. So I think anyone should consider every bit them as a choice, along with the custom-built designs with architects, whatever works for you. But consider them. I wouldn't just flip them away and say, gee, they're cookie cutter, because they're really not. They are. They're nice designs. There's different square footages, all the way up to even 42, close to 5,000 square feet. You can buy as a plan. They won't work for us because our property doesn't. It's a very strange parcel. But what I want to say is that even if an area builds all those different designs that the Foothill catalog has, the surfacing materials will change the look and feel. So everyone has the ability to customize their own home, even though they're using a pre-approved design. So I wanted you to allay those kind of concerns that Altadena is going to look cookie cutter just because they're using pre-approved plans.
I think there was more.
I let everybody get wild. I did not control you guys. I have another guest speaker, and it's 8 o'clock. So what I am going to do is poll everybody. We have someone who works in disaster in insurance area, and he's got incredible tips. So it's 8 o'clock. You guys want to hear it and fight through it?
Yeah.
All right. I'm just going to hand it off.
Thank you, guys. Oh, look, they used my AI photo, so I hope I don't disappoint too bad. But guys, my name's Harold. I see some familiar faces out here. I work for LA Justice. I am their insurance advocate. Okay, I no longer am a licensed insurance adjuster, but previously in my past life, I was a catastrophe adjuster. I was the guy that you are meeting with you day in and day out, right? Trying to get your policy maxed, right? And that is our goal. My goal now with LA Fire Justice is to sit with our clients and make sure that they're informed of what they're owed, right? And what is on their policy, what to expect. Is my insurance company treating me fairly? And get a game plan together with our clients, right? So things that the way I like to approach it, and I would invite all of you, if you want to schedule an appointment, grab Zaria back there or Eileen and schedule an appointment to meet with me. Bring your deck page and we will go over it together. I'm looking for things that in there like your endorsements, right? Let's make sure, do you have extended replacement costs? Do you know what extended replacement costs means, right? Which is extra money that could be available to you when you go to rebuild and exceed the base policy limits. A lot of you shake your head that you know what it is, but do you know how much it is? Do you know the timing of when to get it? So if you have questions about your policy, please make an appointment to sit down with me. By the way, it's no charge. Okay, it's not a charge service. It's something that LA Fire Justice offers their clients to make sure to help you get through the insurance phase, which we know could be pretty tricky at times, right? You're told one thing, but they deliver something else. So let's keep them honest, and that I'll work with you. We be very clear. We don't represent you for insurance purposes. LA Fire Justice, if you are a client, we represent you for that case against Edison. But you can use me to help you get through the insurance process, okay? Freddie asked me today to kind of walk through some of the most frequently asked questions that I'm receiving every day when I'm sitting down with our clients. All right, so I'm gonna go through those, and if you have any questions as I do, please just raise your hand, okay? Sorry to have to take my AI photo away from you guys. But first question I get, and this is a very common question, is can my insurance company cancel or non-renew my policy after my home was destroyed? Quick answer is yes, but not immediately, okay? Under California law, if your home was lost in a declared disaster, which this is, right? Your insurer must renew your homeowner's policies for at least 24 months from the date of loss, okay? Even if the property is no longer standing. However, after 24 months, the insurer may elect to cancel or renew. There is a caveat, and I think that's going to be the next scenario.
Can they increase the rate?
Yes, they can. They have to get approval to do so, but they can. Okay. This is the one that's happening a lot right now. A lot of our clients are calling us and say, hey, my insurance agent just called me and said, do I want to drop my insurance policy from homeowners to liability? I'll save a lot of money. I'm not paying my homeowners for a house that's not there. That is your right to do so, okay? However, I want you to do that with some caution. By the way, I have handouts at the back of all these with the answers, so if you want to grab one on the way back, I'll absolutely. But yes, do it with caution, okay? Some insurers may suggest switching to liability-only coverage after a loss. However, doing so may eliminate your right to the slide before, the 24 months. Any material change to your homeowner's policy will exclude you from that 24. So here's the big picture. Here's the risk that you're taking. You may drop down to liability, okay? You're saving money over the next couple of years. You go to rebuild, you call State Farm, and you say, hello, I want to now up my policy to homeowners. Back to my old policy. Sorry, we're not writing any more policies in that area. But wait, California, I have 2 years, but you made a material change to your policy. Therefore, you're no longer covered under that, okay? Now, that may not happen. State Farm may say, no problem, we are still writing policy, and you made a good move because you saved money over those 2 years. You got a new policy, but that is the risk, and I want you to know what before you make that decision. Yes, ma'am.
So even though during that time you were covered and you had the coverage, but then you changed it after the house burnt down,
you're not protected under that 24 months anymore. That's right.
Wow.
If you make a material change to the policy. There are some changes you can make to the policy that may not affect that. However, dropping down to liability is one of those.
Even though you paid for the amount of coverage?
Yes, ma'am.
So my question is that, do they give that to you, you have to sign it? And that would be that they drop it down to liability, or they automatically?
They're actually writing you basically a new policy, a liability policy, right? Because you're getting rid of your homeowners, and now you just have liability in case somebody trips and falls on your property, right? And now you're ready to rebuild, you need to get an insurance policy on your home, and you run the risk that your insurance company may not be writing new policies. I want to make it very clear, we don't know if any insurance company is going to pull out of this area yet, okay? It's just a risk that you're taking, and I want you to be aware of it so that you can make a good decision. Yes, sir.
While you're rebuilding a home, how is it covered?
How?
While you're actually rebuilding it.
So your insurance company is going to make you have coverage for the rebuild, for the home. So at that point, you will have to then up your policy from liability to, well, they have a couple of policies that would be available. But essentially, if they're not going to write new policies, then you have to go shop around for a new policy or get them to California.
Well, I talked to
oh yeah, yes sir.
My insurance agent, and he said that we should put on a course of construction.
Yes,
Right,
that's an option. Yes.
You said it's do what?
A course of construction.
Yeah, it's while they're building the home. the policy. Who's next? Yes?
My insurance called and offered me to reduce my premium. And I go, well, how much? And then she didn't answer, but then we'll reduce your dwelling by 80,000. I go, why would I do that?
So then what I would say to her, if you were going to entertain doing that, I would then ask her to put in writing that this is not going to affect the 24 months, okay? Not a verbal.
Yeah, no.
By the way, let's just get that out the way right now. Anything you do with the insurance company must be in writing, please. An adjuster tells you something, that is not going to hold up if it was just a verbal and you have nothing to fight them with in writing. That's right.
But I said to her, so they're rebuilding my home, the structures of this and that. So if there's a fire or something happens, the coverage on the dwelling will not be the same because you're gonna reduce it.
That's right.
So I said, no. we're
And
not
in my
doing
opinion, that's a material change to your policy as well.
Yeah, no, and I go, and then if I go back later, she's gonna say, oh, no, you reduced it, so, you know.
That's a change to the policy. Therefore, when you change the policy, it's essentially a new policy. Okay? Right?
If they cancel your policy in 24 months and yet they still haven't paid, still don't have your house built and you're not getting your house built in say 3 years, do they still have to pay you your extended coverages?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, they do from the
Yes,
law,
they do.
right?
And that's actually going to be the next question, but
Okay.
yes. We'll get deeper into that question for you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
We were called by our carrier, and they asked us, or suggested that we drop the policy, because they said, well, it's costing you money and you're not covering anything. And then they said, well.
This is what I'm talking about. This is the policy.
Let me finish this because it does have a little twist to it. So, they said, even if you rebuild another house, this policy won't cover it because that's a new house. So I said, well, let me think about this. I mean, at first it sounds exciting, like, yeah, I can eliminate my $4,000, $5,000 annual cost, right? But then I thought, no, I said, I need to think about this because we still have a mortgage and the lender needs.
That's 100% right.
We have a policy.
You're thinking correct.
So I said, well, no, let me get back to you. So I went to the disaster center, I spoke to the insurance board, and they said their recommendation, and it's even in their guide, it says what they recommend is that you reduce your policy down to the lowest limits.
Yeah. Right.
So.
Yeah, which is your right to do.
We took that, we did reduce it down, but we didn't cancel, and
Right.
they can't cancel the policy, they have to have your permission to cancel.
Right.
After 24 months, right? They have to have your permission to cancel.
They don't have to write a new policy after the 24 months.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, during the
Yeah.
24 months,
Yeah.
you have to give them permission to cancel it. So we didn't allow them to cancel, we did reduce it down to the lowest limits. And now my question is, because we did that,
Yes.
but we cannot get a builder's risk policy. I did look into that, they said they're not writing policies in our area anymore.
Okay.
And so then my question is, well, how are we gonna insure the builder when they're building if we can't get a builder's risk policy? But anyway, we still have this policy that we lowered the limits on, and we're paying for it. It's not gonna cover the new home, but it's covering the property as it is right now, and any liability there.
Yeah, I would like to sit down with you and see that policy, because it's not how I understand it.
That's what they told us.
No, I believe that they told you that. But if you would bring that policy in and let's sit down and look at your particular situation, I'd be happy to advise them.
Yeah, and then the question is, did that change cause us not to be covered under the 24 months?
I'd have to see your policy before I say it with certainty. It has to be a material change, but once you make a material change, then you
All we
can.
did was reduce the limits.
We would have to research to see what you did. Is that considered a material enough change to, and we could dig into that together. Okay? Yes, sir.
So I just have to ask then, if we don't sign up to be a client of LAFJ, you'll still at least take a professional courtesy of helping
Be happy
one,
to.
two, three, a few people?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely. It's not a requirement that you be a client, but my focus is to help our clients get through. But if you have a situation and you're not a client, I'm not going to turn you away by any means. Set an appointment with me and we'll chat. Yes, ma'am.
With my current policy, my policy covers my personal property. I currently possess, even though I don't live at my house.
Wait. You can't?
Current policy covers my personal property at the location where I live right now temporarily.
Okay.
If I switch to liability, means that I don't have that coverage, is that right?
It could be right. When it comes to these one-off examples, let's really dig into your policy before I give just a blanketed, just knowing that. Yeah. This is mostly for rebuild, right?
Yeah.
For here. And so you're talking personal property, and you're saying if you make a material change to your personal property coverage, am I understanding?
No, the current,
Right.
even though we don't have a house, we still have coverage on our property, right, the current property. Within that policy, the insurance company still covers your personal property if you live in a different location.
Right.
If I switch my insurance to liability, does that
Then you'll
mean-
lose that coverage.
Okay.
Yeah, liability is only gonna be liability on the property. You're then dropping personal property, you're then dropping dwelling, you're only having liability. However, they would still owe you for the damages for the policy you had in effect on the day of the fire, okay? But switching going forward, you wouldn't have, and it was liability, you wouldn't have personal property coverage.
Yeah, my policy expired this month and it renewed.
Uh-huh.
What should I be looking for so that I can protect myself from this material change?
Well, did you make any changes, or did it just renew?
It just renewed.
Yeah, you're fine. That'll be fine. You would have to make the change, right? You would have to call your insurance company or answer your insurance and say, I'm dropping my coverages. I want to change.
But I do recall them calling us saying, would you like to?
That's why I'm bringing this up, because you're starting to get those calls now.
I didn't reply to that. I didn't say yes or no,
Right.
and my insurance renewed.
Yeah, if the old policy renewed, then that's what it should do, right? And you made no material change. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Maybe a silly question, but with all the homes being rebuilt,
Yes.
they're all burned down, they're fire resistant, they've got fire suppression in them. What insurance company would not insure homes in Alta Design?
I can't answer that right now. It's gonna be in every area that we work, Santa Rosa, Paradise, Maui, different insurance companies make different decisions on whether or not they're going to write new policies there or pull out of that area. So that it's not a insurance-wide decision. It's a per company decision. So State Farm may say, we can handle this risk and we're gonna keep writing policies. Where Liberty Mutual might say, this is too high of a risk for us. We're gonna renew the policies, but then we're not writing anymore.
Even with all the improvements, the underground wiring?
Yeah, well, all that's gonna factor into each company's decision, right? So they're gonna take all that into consideration on whether they decide to move forward in this area. To the best of my knowledge, no company has declared that they're pulling out of this area yet. I don't know, has anybody heard of anybody pulling out? I have not yet. Not yet.
With all,
Right?
with all the new fire upgrades that the homes are supposed to get now, are we supposed to get a discount?
I'm the messenger here, first of all. Yeah. So this is actually something that's kind of new now, right? The question is, do I have to rebuild on the same lot to get the full replacement cost? Meaning, a lot of you have endorsements. And one of those endorsements is called extended replacement cost, right? Different companies call it slightly different things, but what it essentially means is the cost to rebuild your property, your home, exceeds your base policy limit, you'll have more coverage kick in to cover those extra costs. And each of your policies is going to be different. Some you have 25%, some have 50, some have 100, right? It used to be in California, when Santa Rosa fire happened in 17, you had to rebuild on the same lot in order to get that extended replacement cost. If you build somewhere else or purchase a home somewhere else, you then forfeit the extended. Now, thanks to this new code 2051.5, you are still entitled to your full coverage, including extended replacement code and your code upgrades, which Freddie was talking about earlier. What's that?
Code upgrades.
Code upgrades as well. Regardless of whether you rebuild on the same lot, rebuild on a new lot, or purchase a replacement home elsewhere.
Yeah.
All right, you're still entitled to those extended replacement costs. Yes,
So
sir.
basically, you don't have to rebuild or buy.
Well, if you choose not to rebuild or buy anywhere else, then you're accepting the cash value, right? Right? If you don't do it, then you're not going to get that. You will have to do one of these three
Oh, okay.
to get the extended, not the base. You can get your base policy limit and decide, that's it, I'm done. Right? That's the cash value. You can cash out. You don't have to rebuild. But if you want this extra coverage, which in many cases you might have $500,000 in base coverage with a 50% endorsement, now you have $750,000 in coverage, right? You would lose that extra $250 if you didn't do anything. Yeah, way in the back, yes, ma'am. I know you hate it.
Extended coverage can be used for additional square feet that you want to add, or it cannot? I mean, what happens
Well-
if you're adding extra square feet?
Once you're paid by the insurance company, you can do whatever you want with that money.
But the extended you can't get until you're actually building, right? So-
Right, and so they're not gonna pay you
Right,
for extra square footage.
in any case? No matter
No,
what?
no case that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah. So they want you to, the insurance company uses a term called similar, like, in kind.
Yep.
Right, that you don't have to build exactly, but you need to build something similar, like, in kind. So if you had 2,000 square feet, but you're going back with 5,000 square feet, they're not paying for that. That's not a code upgrade.
Right.
Right?
How do they figure that if you are gonna add, like, let's say 200 square feet, how do they figure how much they're gonna pay you of that extended coverage?
Well, 200 square feet may not, so remember, insurance is a negotiation, right? What they're gonna do is give you a lowball estimate up front.
Yeah, they
To rebuild, they did, absolutely. And that's pretty common, because they use something called Xactimate to do their estimates. And any contractor out there, if contractor's still here, he'll tell you, they don't touch it. They won't touch it because it doesn't give you realistic numbers. The material and labor is just way too low, right? So when your contractor actually comes out and gives you the actual cost to rebuild, 200 square feet isn't going to be a deal breaker, right? Thousands of square feet might be. What they're going to do then is going to take their adjuster's estimate and your contractor's estimate, and they're going to put it through what they call a reconciliation period, where they're going to say, all right, I don't know your name, but Chris's contractor says $1 million to rebuild. Our adjuster turned in something that says $600,000.
Right.
Why is that? Oh, well, she had carpet, now she's going back with marble tile, right? They're not gonna pay for that. So they're gonna start Xing it out. However, if you go back with something similar, like, in kind, and the only difference is that they just used the wrong numbers, well, then they'll pay on it based on your contract.
And what if they tell you, they gave me a very low ball estimate originally, and now they sent me a new estimate that's much, much higher than what my coverage is? Can you ask them, okay, you gave me this new number, it's higher than what I have coverage for with all my coverages, can you pay that to me now? Will they do that?
It's a negotiation.
Yeah.
Most likely they'll pay you the base policy limits,
They did that already.
and they're gonna hold the extended until
Even
you
though
break
they-
ground.
Even though they admit that that even with all my extended coverages, I won't have.
You can try to negotiate with them. They're not required to.
Yeah, I'm trying.
And typically, that's not how it's done, but I have heard of them releasing all of it at one time, especially if they're very convinced that even by their own estimate, it shows. So that gives you more power to negotiate with them.
Thank you.
I'm not sure who is next, but yes, sir, wait in the back.
Okay, one of the questions I have basically in this consideration, the EPA, environmental protection.
I'm a little hard to hear, so I'm close to you.
So then my big question about this EPA, before we sign the contract, that EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency said some of the places are unfit, uninhabitable. And will this affect contract that we sign or any insurance obligation that we?
With the lawsuit?
Yes.
No. No, lawsuit will have no impact on your insurance claim.
Can you
Okay,
repeat
no,
the
no,
question?
sir. Was there any other hands up before I move to the next slide?
What was his question?
Oh, I'm sorry, he was saying that, would him joining the lawsuit, hurt his insurance claim? And the answer is no. Okay? The two things are completely separate. I could tell you how they will most likely offset your insurance payment by the total payment.
Of course.
That's the only thing there.
Yeah.
But no, by him joining a lawsuit, insurance can't drop his insurance claim.
Right.
Right. Yes, sir.
It's pretty clear the process of rebuilding a home on your lot. You call a contractor, you
Yes, sir.
replace what was there. Buying a replacement home elsewhere? I've never
People
heard of
do.
that until just now. What does that look like?
It
I own
used to
property
be,
with a debt.
it used to be you lost your extra endorsement coverages. Okay? Now, you go buy a home, it's similar like in kind, but more money, and it's gonna go above your base policy limits. Now you can get that extended replacement to help you pay that extra cost for the
So
home.
buy a house instead of rebuilding your lot.
Yes, that's what, yes. So a home that's already built, you don't wanna go through the rebuild process, you just wanna buy a home and move in, right? That's what that is.
And so some of your insurance policy then goes to paying off your mortgage on your now flat
So
lot.
a lot of you that are getting your checks for coverage A and still have mortgages are realizing that you have to endorse that check over to the mortgage company.
Yep.
Right? Yes.
Quick question. If I buy a replacement home and that home doesn't have the fire upgrades, can I do the fire upgrades and try to get it from the insurance company
You
on that
can.
new home?
You can try to negotiate that, yes. Yes, you can. Who was asking? I'm sorry.
You had an incomplete thought.
Yeah, you
Sound
were
like
saying.
I lost it.
You're halfway through explaining if I have a lot with a mortgage on it, I'm gonna go buy a home.
Oh,
my
so
insurance
the
policy-
mortgage company, if you have a mortgage and you get a coverage A, your
Yep.
dwelling payments, right? The mortgage company has an interest in that property. Therefore, you're going to have to endorse that over to the mortgage company. Then they're going to give you two choices. One, pay off your mortgage, your existing mortgage, and they'll send you whatever's above that back to you.
Above that, that's so quaint.
Or remaining, right, if there is anything. The second thing is you can choose to rebuild, and they'll release the money in phases as you break ground and go.
Yeah,
Right?
so aren't they supposed to put the money in a dedicated escrow account with the interest accruing to the mortgage?
That's a great question, and I don't
I
know the answer to that. Yes.
No interest in California.
That's
I've
no
already
interest in
spoken-
California.
I've been
There you
fighting
go.
with them for 6 months over this. Not in California, they do not have to give you an account number, they don't have to give you the bank's name, they don't have to give you any interest, you just have to trust them.
Yeah.
Thank you, yes.
They're trying to change it, yeah, they're trying to change it.
Yeah. One of the reasons for them you having to endorse your check over there is when Katrina happened back in 2005. A lot of people got their insurance checks, it didn't have to end, just left. And after that, they've really been enforcing the mortgage companies being on those checks. We just went through this, and what if I don't want to rebuild? You can accept the cash value and not do it. You won't get the extended replacement costs or anything like that. That is your right.
The actual, cash value of now, what it is
Well,
today.
they're going to depreciate, right? And so let me back up to that, and we'll talk about that. What is ACV and how does it differ from RCV? Actual cash value and replacement cost value, right? They're going to give you a replacement cost. Let's talk about personal property for a second, right? Let's say I lost this podium in the fire. And it's furniture, so let's say it has 20-year useful life. That's how they use to depreciate. So they're going to ask me, And those of you putting together your personal property list for your insurance company, you notice that they are asking you for age and condition to also be put on those lists, right? So if the podium that I lost was 10 years old, it has a 20-year useful life, and let's say the replacement is $500, okay? Well, then they're gonna say, well, it's used up half its useful life, 10 years of the 20, therefore they're gonna depreciate this podium 50%. Give me $250, okay? That's my cash value. And then I go replace this podium. I give them the receipt. They give me what they call recoverable depreciation back. That $250 that they held back in the beginning. Now, what we do help our clients do, and this is something we can only do for our clients because it's very time consuming, but we help build out those lists. Because what you really want to do is build out your list sufficient enough to where that replacement cost is sufficiently over your policy limit.
Yep.
That even after they apply their 30, 40% depreciation to your list, your cash value is equal to your policy limit or greater. Therefore, they write you a check for your policy limit. That's all that you're entitled to per your contract, and you don't have to go through that, replace things, turn receipts in.
It's
Right?
75%.
Right. But if your cash value dips below your policy limit and your replacement cost is above, then you have to start turning in receipts until you reach your policy limit. That difference, that delta, is called recoverable depreciation. You are entitled to it, but you have to replace the items to get it. So when you sit down to make your list, don't half-ass them. Put time in there. Make sure they're accounting for everything. The dish towels, the forks, the refrigerator, the appliances, the electronics, everything.
Are they gonna want receipts?
They won't want receipts for every item, but they may push back on certain items.
Yeah.
They may want some proof on certain items. So there's going to be a gentleman on the other end for the insurance company that's going to go through your list, and they're going to put it through the does it make sense test.
How would I have a receipt for the Hope Diamond anyway?
Exactly right. How it is fun. So an example, a real life example is in Santa Rosa. There's a trailer park called the Journey's End, and a gentleman there had a trailer in the Journey's End and claimed he had a Picasso.
Claimed what?
A Picasso painting.
Oh,
Okay, so flags were going up everywhere, right? I'm not gonna pay you for a Picasso painting. Doesn't make sense. You're in a trailer park, right? Doesn't make sense. Well, it turns out it was left to him, and he was able to go back through his estate, show him that they actually had it, and they had to pay it. So an item like that, they might push back on and ask for additional proof, right? They didn't just want to pay it just because you put it on your list.
So let me ask you,
Yes.
was there any traction? Was there any traction, after the fires, everybody was, they're all talking about, oh my God, we have to go itemize everything. Okay, at one point, they were gonna put a bill together to go against the insurance company and say, hey, you know what, we're now gonna give you 100%.
So the insurance commissioner, Ricardo Lara, asked the insurance companies to waive the itemization requirement.
Yes.
Every single insurance company said no. Every single insurance company. Most of them went from 30%, that advance that you got in the very beginning of 30%,
75.
went up to 75.
Right.
Most, and that's the highest one I've heard of so far. Some went to 50.
AAA did 80.
They did go 80? Okay, that's the highest one I've heard.
Damn.
But nobody, to the best of my knowledge, said yes. As a matter of fact, if you go to Ricardo Lara's website, he publishes each of their responses. So you can go read their responses. Kind of shame on you guys.
Yeah, well, who do we complain to?
Ricardo Lara.
I just want to throw into the mix because we were talking about items that depreciate over time. What if you have items that appreciate?
Yeah, so they should not be. So that's something we would want to look at, right? Did they apply depreciation to my artwork, to my antiques? If they did, well, that was wrongful. That was wrong of them, and we would push back to say we need this redone.
What about wine that ages?
Yes,
That
yes.
values it?
There's certain items that appreciate and don't depreciate, and they have a standard of what they do, right? Some companies say it's an antique at 75 years. Some companies say it's 100 years. for something to be considered an
A
antique.
stereo amplifier when I was 17 years old. $130 on eBay. They're $625.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you go. Yeah. So,
Tube amps.
My amplifier, I paid $130 when I was a kid. All the money I had.
that would no longer apply. So, guys, this is something that they're starting to happen. We worked the Maui cases for the Lahaina fire in 2023. These are starting to come out, and I got a couple of clients here that have received what they call a reservation of rights letter, and they're very scary when you get them. Okay, but essentially what they are, guys, is a notice from the insurance company to the policyholder that says we're still investigating a certain section of your claim. We need more time to make a decision. All right? It is not a denial letter. It is not an agreement to pay either. Okay? And so this reservation of rights, the insurer may still cover the claim, but they're not committing to coverage just yet. This is when something comes up. So we have an issue right now with a client whose home is in a trust. Okay? However, her insurance policy is in her name. In California, that could cause a problem.
Yep.
Because your trust is supposed to be on the insurance policy as well. Right? And so, whoops. Oh, I think I took that one out. But yeah, so right now, the insurance company is trying to make a decision on whether or not they can pay the claim based on the rules set in that policy. Okay? Yes, sir.
Okay, so you have homeowners who are suing the insurance companies for underinsuring, right?
Yeah, that's a tough one, though.
But
Yeah.
the question to you is, what's the implication of joining that and joining a lawsuit with SCE?
Completely separate. Completely
I understand
separate.
that.
If you're suing your insurance company for a bad faith claim, underinsurance is kind of, if your home was the only home that burned down, most likely the materials and labor in the area are not going to skyrocket 40-50% and drive rebuild cost up, right? So most likely you do have adequate insurance. I haven't seen your policy, so you may have severely been underinsured. We'd have to look at it. But in most cases, when thousands of homes burn down at the same time, materials, labor shoot up to a point to where insurance is no longer enough to help rebuild. That's why the lawsuit it comes into play, but the lawsuit's a long-term game, right?
Yeah.
You need help now. And so that's why we want to make sure that you're maximizing your policy. You're getting all the extended replacement costs. You're getting all your debris removal. You're getting your trees and shrubs. You're building code upgrades, right? And knowing what you should be collecting from the insurance company is very valuable. So once again, I would like to invite each of you to set an appointment to meet with me. We can Zoom, we can call, we can meet in person, okay? Whatever's comfortable with you. That's my last slide, so I'll just take any questions. Yes, sir.
You can use multiple fuel sources when you rebuild. I know that with insurance policies, I believe that if you have a wood burning fireplace, which we can't have anymore in Alta Design Works.
Update. AQMD have said for the rebuilds, you can have your wood burning fireplace back.
You're kidding me.
Really?
There you go.
Cards out, you guys take a picture of my email, but we'll get that up on the website soon.
There you go.
We got a verbal agreement, so I followed up with the building official today, to get it right, but I have confidence that yes. So that's a brand new update, yeah.
Wood burning or gas?
That was
Wood
not my
burning.
question.
For
You're welcome. So you have, on top of that, you have gas and electric. And so, I know that insurance companies probably held wood burning fireplaces against you and maybe increase your premium a little bit because of that. If you go with one source, all electric, as opposed to electric and gas, is there a difference in
Premiums?
the premium?
So what you need to do is talk to your agent, because each insurance company has discounts that they offer for bundling, for having certain type of roof. So what you would do is contact your agent and ask them, if I go with this fuel source, would I receive a reduction in my premium?
To add to that now,
Yeah.
California Energy Smart Homes, it's
Yeah.
Subsidizing all electric. And we had it done last year. They paid us $7,500 to put in all new appliances. And so an induction range, heat pump, water heater, heat pump, AC unit. Our AC was 17 years old, so we need to replace it anyway.
Yeah.
And what else? Dryer.
Which agency did that?
California Smart Energy Homes. I
know
put
if it's
that out
federal.
on Discord.
We know if it's a federal program, it's gone by now.
This is still in existence, and it was quick. We started in February, and we had it all done by May. They pay for the $1,000 in the infrastructure to have your main panel rewired and so on. And we went all electric, and we were done by May, and we just self-applied February to May, done. California Smart Energy Homes.
Thank you.
Oh, that's
And the Resilient Rebuild Resource Guide that we have does have a section in there on available rebates and things that we're aware of and that will continuously be updated. And again, if you ever know of one that you don't see there, make sure you let me know. I'll have that updated.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, it's about upgrades to the insurance policy.
Yep.
So SC will bury all the wires, and from that point, from the street to our meter, that's something we have to cover the
Yes.
cost. Do you think that can be folded into the upgrade?
Your building code upgrades, if it's a county requirement, yes. Yes. So what you would want to do is when you work with one of your builders or your contractors, you want to have an itemized rebuild estimate, line item by line item. And you want him to mark which items are code upgrades. Right. That way, because code upgrades are additional coverages. Right? You don't want an expense like that going into your base policy limits. You want to get your base policy limit, then you want to get those code upgrades. So make sure your contractor is itemizing, giving you an itemized estimate, and identifying which line items are code upgrades.
I need to make a correction on, it was California Energy Smart Homes, not Smart Energy. Energy Smart Homes.
Energy Smart Homes. Perfect. Yes, sir.
Kira, do we have a list for upgrades so we can give to our contractor to let him or her know that these things are upgrades for the state and or the city or county?
Great question. So really, it would depend on when your house was built, right? So it'd be what codes are in effect. So the codes didn't even come in until 1932. So if you're before there, everything is new, right? So yeah, I think, so one of the things we're working on is common errors and omissions, right? Letting you know, hey, when people submit plans, this is what's missing. Another thing we did is kind of summarize the amendments, but again, they vary every 3 years, right? It keeps updating. But yeah, if there's value in that, I'd be happy to try and get some of those, especially the big ticket ones, right? Like solar, sprinklers. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
A question for Public Works.
Yeah.
Do you do inspections on retaining walls, whether the retaining walls is compromised?
Yeah, as far as whether they're compromised or when you're building them.
Compromised.
Yeah, it would be a civil engineer. You'd want to get a private civil engineer out to evaluate it. Yeah.
And for public works as well, in what state can we bring over, like I have layout, like a floor plan, and I have an elevation, let's say, can I bring that to public works or planning and say, what do you think of this? And just to see what their reaction is?
100%. Yeah, walk in. They're open 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday, and absolutely, it's good to start early and have the discussion.
Yeah, because it's not anything, just what my architect has kind of initially given me. They say, oh, there's no way you can do this.
Yeah, I recommend it. Yeah, stop by and have a chat. Mm-hmm.
I had my property surveyed and found my house was built in 1923, 25. Pardon me. And the back property line, turns out that they had 3 feet of my my property. And, I mean, 5 feet in the back, in the rear, and 3 feet on the right side of my neighbor. Now, does Public Works step in to claim it?
No, so it'll be civil, but we will require those property line surveys, especially when everything's gone, because we have to identify, right, when everything's gone, where are the, so we do a corner record survey.
And also because of the county codes and ordinances, I understand, my house was really right next to the property line, like maybe 5 feet away from it. So now I'm gonna bring the house down so that they can comply with those ordinances.
So I know not everybody here, but she's saying she was built pretty much to the property line. So this is the concept of like for like that was in the code before this fire, right? Like for like, emergency declaration. So if you build back what you had before, you can have non-conforming setbacks and things like that. So you can put back what you had, but what'll happen is the building code will step in and say maybe you can't have any openings there now, right? So maybe that's where your bedroom windows were, you might have to move them, you know, you might have to rearrange your house. So there are code requirements to make sure if you're building close to a property line, that it, you know, if it has to be 1 hour construction, no openings within 3 feet, right? So there's code requirements, but you can have back what you had before if you go with like for like. So that's one of the big things about, you know, non-like for like is now you have to comply with today's standards and meet those, what are the setbacks? But the like for like allows you to keep non-conforming setbacks. Yeah. I'm learning things about planning, guys. And by the way, the amount you all have learned, like I have chills. Like if I didn't work in this industry for as many years as I have, like people always say, how do you know this stuff? Because I worked in it for decades. But like, wow, the amount you've learned about insurance and
It's been a crash course.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. One second, yes, sir, you had your hand up for a long time. Yes, sir.
One thing I think we'll bring up with the property, basically, are we gonna be forced to install solar and use that?
are we gonna be required to install solar? So there was an executive order just last week that said you have to be solar ready. So you install the conduit and everything, but you do not have to install solar for the fire rebuilds or the battery storage system. Are you talking about undergrounding now? Sorry, so what was the question?
We're responsible on our contract, is how we put underground. Do we have to pay for the upgrade on this side of the consumer in the contract?
So you're saying if Edison Underground, is it?
Yeah.
Do you have to pay? Am I hearing it right?
He's saying, do they pay for?
Yeah, so currently the lateral, like we were talking about earlier, would be the property owners. I will say we are looking for grants. I know others are as well, like, you know, there's philanthropy, state, different levels of government. That is an item we bring up, right? Is if this undergrounding happens, how are those laterals gonna be paid for? Just don't want to overcommit, but it is something that we're exploring as well, because we know that's another added cost, right? For
Yes.
yeah.
So speaking of grants, whatever happened to homes? Anybody know what happened to the
Right, the festival seems like, yeah, what happened with all the money?
I don't know. She was saying for all the festivals and things like that, where does that money go? Fiery.
Like a week after the fire.
Thanks for sticking around. Anybody who has to take off, we appreciate you guys.
Where they released the money to, they've done 2 rounds. Who's received it? They're about to do a 3rd round. But it went to your traditional nonprofits. There were some new, smaller entities that surfaced that got some. For the most part, it went to the usual suspects. What percent of that actually got to the homeowners?
I'll stick around too, and if anybody, I know you, don't I? I feel like I know you. Do I know your face over there? Yeah.
So I heard somebody say that right now no one's paying property taxes. So what are the chances of after the bill, we're gonna be billed for those, that year, 2 years, 3 years?
Freddie, do you know the answer to this one? She's saying for property taxes. She's saying people don't have to pay it right now. Is that what you're saying?
You pay property tax on the dwelling. If there's no dwelling, then you shouldn't pay property tax.
So we've gotten our property tax bills, but they say, here's your bill, you're gonna have to pay it, but you don't have to pay it until next April.
Right, that's what it said to me too.
I was told that you can go in and get that, apply to get that knocked out, because you pay property tax for the dwelling.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
no. So what they're doing, they're adjusting the property tax so that and it's for the second half of 2025.
Right.
And you're only gonna be assessed on the value of the land.
Right.
But when we got those bills, they said, here's your bill, you're gonna have to pay it, but we will not require you to pay it until next April.
Did they give you the bill?
It's been deferred.
Did they give you the bill of the home with the home still on it?
No.
We don't know, I don't know how do you, I don't know.
I can answer this.
They made the adjustments, correct?
Yes.
They made the adjustments.
What I know, and then you can, we received, I filed my, I did my filing with the, property tax at the disaster site. They've adjusted our property tax value based on the 2025 law. Then they sent us an adjustment, itemized, memo, let's call it memo. It included the 2024